Crowdfunding roundup. You ready? Let's do this. Lots of games launched this week. I wasn't kidding. You know, it's like the first week syndrome conundrum going on nowadays, right? Everybody wants to launch on the first Tuesday of the month. So get your wallets ready, buckle up, strap in, hit me up on YouTube or Patreon. Help me help you, and let's freaking go. By the way, did you see the Boardgamegeek Awards? I got a lot of those right. Now I missed a few because I was doing a little bit snarky, but boy howdy, I kind of nailed it on some of those, though, about who was going to win. Leadstradamus! I mean, some of them were easy picks, though, so I'm really just an idiot who got lucky. Aeon's End, right? Beyond the Breach, indie board and cards. I mean, doing fantastic. It's doing fantastic for the umpteenth iteration of Aeon's End. And where they're going with this one is they're actually giving you a gauntlet style vibe of challenges. Now, it wouldn't be an Aeon's End product if it wasn't standalone as well. Some new nemesis, some new supplies, as well as the nice mechanic of adding some friends and foes and treasures along the way. I really like the artwork of this game as well. I love the fantasy style vibe of it, and that's kind of why the other version of Astronauts never really clicked home with me. And they have a little bit of extras that go along with it that are invariably kind of the make it or break it, push your luck, whether or not you're going to utilize them or they're going to be available at retail or really make a difference if you already got half a dozen Aeon's End products in the first place, because you'll never utilize that many as well. And I kind of like the new stuff pledge on here. At the same time, I don't like it because it doesn't tell me what's in the freaking pledge. It just gives me a picture of this stuff. So this is just all the new gameplay content, which still for a significant chunk of money, $115 for that. That is definitely crowdfunding inflation. The question is, can you utilize it? This is probably, if you have one or two other core boxes, an absolutely great entry point, because I wasn't a fan of some of the legacy style of things or the New Age collection. And so if you had maybe Outcasts and War Eternal, this could be a great go-in point. And then pick one or two of these as well, you know, get it all for, you know, around $200. You'd have a whole complete collection that you would never run out of, and you don't need to buy all the other stuff to go along with it. All of these are sort of the previous extras and add-ons from the previous campaign. So I like the fact, I will give kudos where kudos is due, that you can get this stuff, well, one, separately, and two, you're retreading on it for a previous campaign. That is, in my opinion, absolutely backer friendly in most ways. So what you're getting here, though, Expedition, Battle 5, and Level 4 treasures. A fifth battle through the Expedition system. Again, okay, can you play more than one or two of these a row in a game night? That's not a you issue, it's a me issue. And then upper level strategy in the form of trinkets and treasures. New add-ons. Well, that playmat looks freaking sweet, actually. I am a sucker now for a little bit of a nice playmat. Sleeves, don't need them. Accessory pack, don't need them. And limited retail release. I'm not really sure I believe a lot of that nowadays, but as we said on a lot of the tariff stuff right now, crowdfunding, you know, if this kind of holds up, it could actually be cheaper this way than what they're going to have to do to make up for costs in terms of that style of things, depending on who is supplementing what tariff-wise and who's not. 4 new Nemesi, I'm going with Nemesi, it says Nemesis, and 6 new mages, 3 new friends and foes, a lot of cards, too many expansions to go along with it. So, I mean, that's fine. But it's kind of weird, though, when you've got 2 new mages and a new nemesis and a new friend and foe for, what is that going for, $16 compared to, you know, 3 times that. So when this is what, like $75, 3 times this, 3 times 15 is 45. Anyway, we're not going to worry about that. You're getting more stuff. It's a standalone, right? New mages. I like new mages. I was a little snarky and sassy on the upcoming video where I said, okay, there's just going to be retreads of, you know, the mages you've seen before and slightly different powers. So I like that. The question is, with any of the mages and some of the nemesis stuff, that was my issue with a lot of the legacy stuff, is it just didn't port over. It creeped. It creeped a whole hell of a lot. Does this make me not want to get it? No, I'm absolutely super interested. I don't have any of the friends and foes stuff. I want a reason to get this back to the table, but I'm not a big fan of some of the stop decks, and that's kind of what's going to probably be my biggest hesitation as a whole. And so maybe I'm just going to get one of these extra little boxes, or maybe just even the expansion content. So if you want a little bit of paid content here, they've got that, which again, I feel kind of like it's probably not going to be terribly helpful unless you actually want to see specifically what some of those cards are that they're previewing. Because there's enough knowledge about Aeon's End that you don't need paid content at this point. Because look at all this freaking content already. This is a known quantity. If you don't know, you go over to Boardgamegeek at this point. So you know what? You watch 3-minute board games. There you go. That's your opinion. $14.90 Doom, $100,000 on a tabletop war game. We're just talking about this really quickly because Napoleon Dynamite is endorsing this game. Yeah, not kidding, right? 2-player skirmishes, solo co-op as a 1-person as well, 30 to 45 minutes a game, and John Heater, right? See, right there, not making this stuff up. And if you want to get in all physical, you can get $460 worth of this. That's the problem with these skirmish style games is I don't have a clue, right? Is this one actually going to be the one that entices you or gets future support? You can spend money on a dying product. And sometimes, you know what, truth be told, that doesn't really matter. As long as the game and you are in love, nothing else matters, phrasing. But if you're one of those people where once it goes out of print, you're going to want more of it, or you're going to feel like somehow it's obsolete once they stop making copies of it, even though you owning a copy doesn't stop you from playing it or utilizing it, then I'd say hold off right now. You know, the main incentive is that you can stretch pay it and get it early. So that'd be my issue. But give it a look-see, and I thought I'd at least mention it because 100 freaking grand's 100 freaking grand on crowdfunding, especially over on GamePound. So there you go. Now we're talking Open Owl Studios, Sprites and Sprouts. Again, $100,000. This is pretty crazy. I think this goes to some of the thematic incorporation as well as Open Owl just having a really good track record of games that people are enjoying. And so this is a little bit of a different like resource management, action selection, worker placement vibe. As you're laying these tiles down on a turn-by-turn basis, then selecting your workers to where you think the farmer is actually going to reap a harvest from, gaining points if you can kind of guess correctly, but also use a little bit of deduction to do it, and then gathering your resources, upgrading your skills, and rinsing and repeating. It's got a little bit of an expeditions vibe because as you can see on that board in front of you, there are 4 different columns on these boards here. You're going to be utilizing your marker in order to play your workers to the field in order to guess where that farmer is actually going to go in the first place, because you're going to lay those tiles out there, and then as you're laying your workers out, you're going to be placing them somewhere either on an actual individual space that has crops on it, or you're going to be placing them at one of the ends of a row. And so if you're in, say, the exact right square, you're going to get more points. If it's tended, meaning you've harvested that and the tile gets flipped over to its other side, you get even more points. If you're only in the row, you get some points. If you're on a space in the row, you get even less, but you still get some. And then at the end of the round, you actually remove all of the tiles that were in the row and the column that sort of adjoined where he took it from, so that it gets cleared out, so the chances of it kind of change. And then at the very, very end, you can see that on these player boards, you have about 6 different spaces that can be upgraded to make these actions stronger, because what you're doing is you're placing your marker in one of these 4, and then subsequently when it's back to your turn, you have to then go to a different one. Now you can upgrade these to make them stronger. Depending on the player count, it's going to depend on how many rounds. I think 4 at a higher player count and maybe 3 at a little bit of a less. So it's going to give you more options, more dynamics, and then you're also going to be dealing with not only challenge cards that are going to affect how the farmer is going to be scoring, potentially doubling or changing the points or how you're going to be doing that, but your own individual scoring cards here based on how these crops are arranged when you're placing things down and utilizing the arrangement in the first place. Or you can rotate them when you flip them in order to match up the symbols to get more points. That's the game in a nutshell. You want deluxeified? Well, $100. So give it a look-see. I mean, player boards, punch upgraded tokens to screen print, and some draw bags. Ooh, gloss box cover. And what is the core card upgrade only in the, oh, come on now. Fungus expansion gives you more crop tiles of that type. That's a lot of money though, and miniatures I think are completely unnecessary, but you can get them if you want with some playmats too and pins. So there you go, a few little stretch goals here with the deluxeifications as well as a little bit of gameplay content. Is this your vibe? Does this look good to you? And the other thing that I didn't mention is that you can play it without a rulebook here. They have a tutorial deck that you can just kind of set up and go. And that's kind of nice too if you hate reading rulebooks or listening to people like me. So there you go. Paid preview content there, like usual. And Open Owl, killing it. There you go. Shallow Regrets. I covered this. A pocket-sized game of deep regrets. This is a button shy, 12 bucks. I said in my video, the base game alone wasn't enough to entice me, but getting 2 little mini expansions to go along with it is going to be what you're looking for, because this is a single play a card, get a card sort of situation. And what I mean by that is you're going to have these piles of cards representing the deepness of the water. And you're going to be having to guess which one you want to grab as you grab 2 of them on a turn-by-turn basis. Then you get to potentially keep one of them if you have enough of your hooks based on the cards you've already acquired in the upper left-hand corner, which then has to correlate to how many points or what the number is in the upper right-hand corner. Keep it, and then put one back on any pile, potentially asterisks there with that. Then at the beginning of your turn, you have the ability to utilize, well, the abilities of these cards in the first place, where you can choose to use one ability, tap it. But the tricky part is with this game is that it doesn't untap ever. So once you use it, it's potentially done, and it's head-to-head take that. And so it plays at multiplayer, and then you score at the end of the game when all of the cards are acquired based on the victory points in the upper right-hand corner, anywhere from like 0 to 5. Why would they offer a non-button shy game during a button shy campaign? But there you go. It's killing it. Again, I wonder sort of how much some of the back catalog gets it, but who cares, right? Success. Button shy's killing it. They do everything under the sun. I love it thematically and mechanically. So I always say, you know, if you're looking for one of the best values in crowdfunding, there you go. Then Reforest Old Growth. I will hopefully sometime this weekend have a video out talking about this one in a multi-game review video, talking about another campaign as well from this video that we will cover shortly, as well as 2 other games that are lurking behind me that you may or may not be able to pick out at the time of me filming this. Reforest Old Growth, though, is a reprint as well, I think, of the first one with the Old Growth expansion. Really deceptively simply complex in its nature. And what I mean by that is you just have a deck of cards and you just wingspan it in a situation combination with Earth. And you're going to be creating this little tableau in front of you. It's sort of an engine, but not really at the same time. More of just a regular tableau that you're upgrading, as you basically are limited in where you can put these plants based on the symbols on the left side of them to allocate them to one of the 3 areas, and then overlay them if they are taller based on another number that's on the card, to overlay them. And based on whether or not they are either shade and sun faring or sun only, depends on whether you keep them face up and they score a little bit more at the end of the game if you're choosing correctly and optimizing it in that way, or they get flipped over, which gives you victory points still, but then can also be utilized to pay for the cost of cards down in the first place, or allowing you for end of round / game victory point conditions, because you play this game in a completely unique way in the sense that you play over 3 rounds until the draw pile is out. And subsequently, you add more cards to the draw pile that gets the discard pile shuffled in at the end of the round, but that pile is going to diminish significantly from round 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and from 3 to the end of the game. And so it's going to speed up the game in terms of the optimization of the decision making, because the actual what you're doing is super simple. It's either you get 2 cards from either the market and or the draw deck, or you play a card to your tableau. That's it. But there are symbols at the bottom of these cards that are going to be helpful. You have passive abilities, you have active abilities, you have when played abilities, all of those things to go along with this. And the animals are the end of round scoring. That, again, is a nice, clever touch. If no one routinely outright wins it, it is not won by anyone. It's not split by anyone. It just gets kicked and punted to the next round. So that's what you're getting. There's a little bit of an event module that goes in between them as well, if you really want to have some potential take that, or, well, some other ways of changing how the rounds are going to go. And that's it. You score up at the end based on a multi-variable scoring conditions that are available to you. It talks about the other main element that I did not allude to yet as well, is that you have the upper left-hand corner, which is the cost of playing this card in the first place, which you actually get to subtract from the card value of the card that you were playing it on top of. So it may be easier to play in that regard. But if you can't, you have to discard those cards from your hand, or those face down victory points of nutrients that I mentioned earlier. I talked about the elevations, where it tells you which essentially row you can play them in. You have to have adjacency out there in the first place, so you can't just play on the top part at the very beginning of the game. Sun loving, shade talking, we did that. Taller plants, plant abilities, attractions, combo situations, the events in the end game situation, as well as a solo mode. And it's really that small. So there you go. Expansion content. What do we got? 90 more plants, old growth trees that are really a lot taller than anything else. And again, the trickiest part is you'll notice that like these are 0.5 and these are, you know, 0.35, 0.5, 0.8. And you need to be very careful about when you put out what, because if you don't start small, you will run out of ability to play them as a whole. So it's much better than I was expecting. And it came out of nowhere for me personally, and that's why I'll be talking about it in more detail. So if you don't believe me, wait for my review video, watch someone else that's smarter than me right here, or give it a look-see for yourself in addition. Cop it, Kickstarter, you're drunk again. Panda Spin, Mandate of Heaven, expansion, the Mandate of Heaven, as a trick-shedding game where you are playing cards down in a scout poker-esque vibe, where you're just trying to beat the previous run of whatever else is down there. Sets, runs, bombs, element cards that are going to trump all. And so you go until, well, someone runs out of cards, and then you total up how many points you have. And if you have 15 points, you win the game. But if you don't, then you rinse and repeat and play another round. The trick of this trick taker, though, is that if you win the trick, you keep your card discarded. But if you lose it, you take it back and you get to flip it around 180 degrees, which essentially makes it stronger on the other side or gives you access to, say, the bomb or the element cards in and of themselves. The Mandate of Heaven here is going to give you a different card that is going to allow anyone to play a special ability if they have a matching card that matches the animal of that mandate in the first place of the various zodiac signs that are available in the game. Rinse and repeat, just giving a little more asymmetry to it. So that's it. The whole thing with the expansion and the base game is going to cost you 24 bucks. Just the expansion by itself is going to cost you $9 right here with the Mandate of Heaven. That's it. Moongate Design is back and they're killing it. $10,000 of a $1,000 funding goal. Whale Riders, speaking of things being back, again, $10,000 of a $10,500 funding goal. The Vincent Dutrait Nizia race-ish game is back, where you're taking 2 of 5 possible actions, moving your little whale rider around the edges of this board to get to the end. But you may not want to be the first one to actually get to the end, because then you're stuck there. And as you're moving along the sides, you're going to be potentially buying resources, buying contracts in order to fulfill them as you're going along. So there is a little bit of a race element as you're going around this area, but you may want to get the ones you want to get first. But if you move too quick, too far, too fast, you may run out of room and you may run out of ability to fulfill those contracts that are available to you in the first place. And they're offering you the expansion content included in the base that was from the first Kickstarter, as well as they have some upgraded art for easier differentiation of the goods versus the blizzards and the bonuses. That's it. Ape is bringing us back in the former Grail game. Give it a look-see, bunch of reviews and preview copies out there, and that's all you need to know. The price point, though, 50 bucks, because it's really jacked up to help offset the pay of the other tariffs and shipping elsewise. So give it a look-see. Seal of Excellence, the Seas of Havoc reprint with a First Mates asymmetric deck building, pick up and deliver, shoot your cannonballs at your opponent programming style of worker placement game. Yeah, that's a lot of keywords there. And so what you're getting in this situation is you have these isles set around the outside, Pirates of the Caribbean style, where you get to place your skiffs or your workers essentially to take the actions that you need in the first phase of things. The second phase of things is going to be playing your cards, allowing your, well, ship in the main center area as actually navigating the seas, the high seas, as well as avoiding the Kraken in the expansion, to take out your opponents as you strafe and play cards to shoot cannonballs out of one side, both sides, or all sides in order to be the last one standing, right? It's a skirmish game. You've got a deck of cards. You're doing deck building. You're doing the resource management style. You want the free sea monster expansion for all the core backers of the original game? Awesome. You get asymmetric captain powers. Now you're getting asymmetric first mate powers. Now you also have a sea monster expansion with a freaking wooden kraken and sea serpent, which is kind of cool. I previewed this game. Never ended up with a copy though. Then you get the revision kit, a little bit of an upgrades as well from the first print run, rebalanced market cards with changes for the wording, as well as rebalanced cards in general to the, well, other additional deck building aspects. So premium insert. What's new? Well, like I mentioned, the first mates, customizing your stardom deck and giving you an additional ability card. You want more captains though, you want some more asymmetry, they'll give you a little bit of that, and a few new markets and tech tree upgrades to give you a little bit more of everything. So It's not going to change anything from the base game, but it's going to give you more of a good thing. All the preview videos from the first time around are there. So if you want to go support Rock Manor Games, Mike, I'm still waiting for Disco Heist Laundry. Yeah, that's a real title of a real game upcoming in a cooperative sense. Frickin' looks awesome, but Seas of Havoc's killing it, so tell him Leech sent you. Cinderella at Midnight, solo maze puzzle adventure card game. Gives me vibes of Kingdoms Forlorn in the weirdest way, right? Of how you're basically creating these paths in a Rise of Cthulhu Myths that we saw as well. You start with the Fairy Godmother card and you just lay cards around the outside. You start with 4 of them on an up, down, left, right situation to begin the game, but then you're going to be crossing bells, which is the determinant of how long the game is going to go, ways to mitigate those bells as well as gather the resources or get all the waystones, milestones, whatever they're called before midnight. But you're also going to have ways to move around, including staying on your current path or jumping through secret passages, the bells, the resetting of the bells, as well as the tasks that you're going to have to accomplish, like I said before. But you also will run into hazards which will recognize you and end the game there. Winning, completing all the tasks, and returning to the coach before your tracker reaches midnight. What is the price point actually though? I remember $4 for the print and play. Deluxe print and play is $8, and if you want physical, $14. So that's why it's got $4,000. Give it a check out. Game Found Transplant over on Kickstarter. Mighty Shot! Yeah, this went live last year and it failed. They only got about $13,000 or so. I think it was actually 12,000 euros, if I'm remembering, maybe 12,000 pounds. Don't quote me on that. But has over double that, which is it the Kickstarter Game Found thing? Is it the relaunch looks better thing? Is it the slightly different pledge level thing? I have no clue. Is it the people just want acrylic standees instead of plastic miniature chunks that are gray and ugly on the table thing? You didn't hear it here. $25,000 though, and it's funded. So it's a dexterity-based skirmish game where you shoot your little tiles across the board here to do damage to your opponents, but then also use your cards to shoot projectiles and go traverse this board in a skirmish manner to take them out as well. Asymmetric heroes, asymmetric enemies, 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2, champions galore, 4 of them in the base game, a little bit more champion choice with the expansion, getting you 2 more, and then a solo mode that you can dig as well. The miniatures and the standees that I alluded to, and you're just trying to KO your opponent. Gather your momentum, play your cards, implement your strategy, and knock out their minions, their behemoths, and their champion in order to win, because you get behemoths when your health gets down on your champion to a certain degree to give you a super powered over deluxified Godzilla-esque monster, which is going to have its own unique ability as well as its own unique die. They run through a little bit of the asymmetry of the heroes, or the champions I should say, right here, and then the rule book and everything else you need to know, including all the video content from the first time around as well. So the pledge levels are slightly different, pretty close though in terms of the cost, but definitely different in the makeup here, I believe. Core box with 4 champions and the stretch goals. Core box expansion here, which I think was a little bit higher, 112 or so, I think, on the original. And then the master pledge getting you all of the stuff. So yeah, there you go. That's everything. That's Mighty Shot. There's plenty of more stuff down here with the miniatures and the stretch goals, and maybe we'll hit a couple more. That's all you kind of need to know. So, well, is it for you? $25,000 says people are saying yes. Trash Pandas. This is a very interesting game. This is actually from the designer of Newton, if you're familiar with that game, or if you're familiar with the more recent 2024 Shackleton Base, or the 2023 Darwin's Journey. Yeah, same designer. So what you're doing is action programming, trying to go around to gather resources in a language independent, but what you're doing is an action programming style card play driven manner where you play a card down and do an action. And the next turn, you get to play another card. However, you play that either to the left or to the right of your previous card, and then you do them in order from left to right. And then you do similarly with the next card, etc. And so that's the combination of things you're going to be having to do. So you're trying to do that as you get the most trash before the end of the game. And you're going to be doing that as the board shifts and the game state changes along the way. You're going to be getting some expansion content as well here that's available if you so want, or you would rather upgrade it in terms of gameplay content, solo content, or even deluxe metal coins. Runs you through what you're getting, and then it just gives you the overview like I mentioned. So we skip down past all the deluxifications. Here's a little bit more of the asymmetry that goes into the extra cards, extra raccoons, extra combos in the actions that you're taking, the solo quests that you're going to be delivering, and the metal coins that you love, love, love to have all your games having. So that's it. That's everything. Replayability. They're doing minimal plastic, and they show you how you're going to be navigating through rules. And finally, we'll get down to some video content here, so you can check all of that out in addition. Tabula Games, pretty good track record, so good designer as well. So that's a good pedigree. Well, wasn't what I was expecting to say about Trash Pandas, but holy cow, better than I was expecting. And this is one of those nice indies that comes out of nowhere. So 56 grand, give it a look. I just have to comment about this. ITABRO trading card game. The first trading card game to use AI. with memes. Whoa, okay. I could say a lot of other things, but we're just going to move on. MonToons, Guardians of Coral Isles. I'm friends with the designer online, so I always give it a shout out. And I'll actually have a video out hopefully this weekend talking about this game in a little bit more depth as a print and play, roll and write, asymmetric skirmish style, King of Tokyo, combo driven situational game where you're either the last one standing or unlocking all the things you need in order to win. And this is giving you more expansion content, which is going to upgrade your Guardian in the first place. That's what you got going on. And if you like the print and play style of things, a la the postmark situation, they'll give you more content between now and the end of the year. And if you want a low price point to get in for $6 of the expansion, $25 for the actual game and the base game and all the previously released content, you can do that as well. But in case that wasn't good enough for you, here is a little bit more of a closer view. The planning phase where you roll your dice simultaneously, allocate them to your character action sheet, resolving the actions phase, moving according to your speed, strategically position yourself in order to attack your opponents, using those attacks, powering up your attacks, obtaining the bonuses that are available to you, and winning by combat or puzzle, whether it's knocking out all of your opponents or claiming the Waystone's power by getting all 4 Waystone marks as you unlock various areas of your board. And if we go back up here, you can kind of see, as I skipped over, what some of the extra content is offering you. You're getting 3 new maps with a new blight mechanic, special guardians, utility guardians, and bonus guardians, $6 for that whole package as well. Bunches of stretch goals here, hundreds at a time. And you know what? 100 people already in for a print and play. Yeah, it's killing it. Devin, my thoughts soon. Give it a look, see if you like this sort of thing. Might be a great value per play if you're into that sort of thing as well. Deckhand games. It's just 2 games that you can play with a deck of cards, of 18 of them being used at a time, right? Boil and Bubble and The Dig. Both are which, completely different in how you're going to be utilizing them. Your witches and wizards in this one, every round you bid on other spell cards that you get to store, and then you only get to score 5 of them at the end as you're storing them under your cauldron. Rinse and repeat until you get the end. The Dig, the Treasure Island, again, 1 standard deck of playing cards. You are claiming the most points of treasure over 2 rounds. You have to draft cards to assemble the map of 12 cards in front of you. Then the treasure cards will be awarded to players whose maps best match the patterns shown on the treasure cards in the first place. Equipment cards allow you to adjust and mitigate, and the most valuable treasure wins as you get them from an open market in order to create your 12-card 4x3 tableau. That's it. And $1,300. So you like card play games? There you go. Quick overview of Masters to Mythics Behind the Magic. It's a pattern matching manipulation game. So what you're going to be doing is taking 2 master cards on a round by round basis, using them to flip, move, or trade places of your little tokens on the board there in order to fulfill your quests or achievements that you're going for. Like I said, move, swap, and flip. Unlock your lore and ascend to higher levels by creating these patterns and scoring your points. That's it. Then going back over to GameFound, we have Dustlings, a fast 2 to 3 player capture the flag style dynamic plot twisting game where you sort of play a tile, allocate all of your workers out onto the board, and then manipulate them using the card-driven aspects that are available to you on a turn-by-turn, round-by-round basis, because you're going to have 3 cards face up, and on a turn, you get to play one of those cards as their abilities to flip them back over. When all 3 are flipped back over, you flip them all back up and rinse and repeat. You've got 2 asymmetric sides, as well as an expansion that's going to offer up to a 4-player situation. Unfortunately, there's really nothing else on the page if you were paying close attention there as I scroll by. The only actual how to play is this gameplay video right here that you can see I was going over, and the setup right here. So otherwise, you're going to have to watch one of these to get any sort of idea of what you're doing specifically in a asymmetric situational game that shows you how things are going to be interacting, moving, utilizing, or scoring those capture the flag points in end to win. Over 5,000 euros at the time of me filming this, with still only 121 people. It's better than I expected per person. Then AVGhost Paranormal Investigation, 2nd edition cooperative game for 1 to 4 players as investigators that are taking on paranormal events and poltergeists. And, if you want $72,000 of gaming content, this is what they've got going on. The problem is, again, I just don't see how to play this game, and you're going to have to actually, again, watch a video to get any sense of it, as seems to be the theme this week. You have 15 cases, including potentially at least 2 that are GameFound exclusive if you decide to support the 2nd edition, which is giving you more content, more tools, and more terror. What is it, though? Well, this is kind of what it is. New solo mode, translucent miniatures. Okay, sure. So, do you have any idea how to play this? No. Stretch goals, Grace expansion, Sanatorium expansion, GameFound exclusives, 1st editions who didn't get there. What? First edition rewards that were not given out by the previous publisher. Oh, well, that's nice. Kudos. Okay. You get a pass. You know, if you're putting out the stuff that people didn't get it previously, I'll give you a complete and utter pass on this one. So that's all I need to see. But just kidding. I mean, you still want a good game to go along with this. Now, it does have an app-driven companion that you're going to be utilizing as you're opening these folders full of documents, clippings, and statements in order to discover clues to help your investigation as you're going along. Which gadgets, place them where, deal with the dark as you go throughout the investigation phase, exploring, moving across, placing the devices, checking the traps, and seeing what resources and clues that you're gathering. So, yeah, I mean, it reminds me of a few other games along these lines where you're exploring and solving mysteries and doing that sort of thing. But it's another iteration of sort of like a Mansions of Madness style of things in the first place. But I'm going to leave you for the nuance and see whether or not we can help them cross the line here in the next 2 weeks. So there you go. Then Casus Belli from Wallace Designs, a game of 4X situational where you're slowly expanding, exterminating, and exploring between your asymmetric factions, kumbayaing until a certain point in the game when something is found and grabbed, and then all hell breaks loose in this style of technological upgrade, spacefaring, civ building style of game. Each faction exploring the systems of the region, exploring and finding ancient alien technologies, but some will lead to corruption. As I mentioned, it starts in a period of peace, increasing the tension. Unless they have a Casus Belli, you can't fight each other, and then you're forced into alliances where major battles can occur. Gameplay, 7 to 9 rounds. Factions score differently. Rinse and repeat until the end. I said for my upcoming ones to watch a video, what is going to be the difference between a lot of the 4X situational games with a little bit of asymmetry, a little bit of the I can't actually attack you? Well, go watch the Learn to Play video because that is going to be by far and away the best way of learning this. I believe there's a rulebook here on the page as well, but a lot of bling and a lot of miniatures for another spacefaring 4X. So again, just like dungeon crawls, I feel like I just can't tell the difference on surface value, how these are going to be different from each other. So it gives you a little bit of overview on the card anatomy, the system fairing, and the faction boards that you're going to be utilizing along with the card play combat aspects as well. So I'm going to leave it to you on this one because, well, not my forte, but wanted to put it across your radar because 60 grand from Wallace, great designer. Is it for you though? Food truck race. But a lot of kudos because 50 grand for a game that you have never heard of is freaking awesome. $45 for 4 chefs. Get the little expansion content with more asymmetric chef abilities for $69. What is it though? It's a 60-minute game of how to manage your own brand of food truck. Get your ingredients, serve your customers, and then if you can't feed them, you actually pass them to the player on your right. You're going to be having 4 of them trying to be fed at the same time, video game simulator style, if you're familiar with those vibes of the multiple ones that are out there like that. But if you can't feed them, you pass them, so your opponent may have a better chance of doing so. So if we scroll down here a little bit more explicit, you start with $5 to upgrade, roll your dice in order to get your focus and your output, casting that into your lines to earn cash on every turn. Here are the guest checks that are going to be moving along, trying to fulfill them until they finally move on to the right side. Spending, rinsing, repeating your engine, and watch out for getting fined, outcook, and outcash your opponents before the end of the game. Rules are right there, and it's got a cool vibe. I like it. This is one, though, I would think I would want to try. I'll put it on my wish list, and we'll kind of see where this one goes, but plenty of gameplay content down here. If you're looking at that thing, a few extra expansion content and stretch goals that you're going to be gathering along the way. And a 1,000-piece puzzle. My family is big puzzle time when we go on vacation every summer, so I'm thinking about really picking one of these up. But you know what? Shipping is going to be, well, okay. And this is a first-time creator, though, so with all the tariff situation, what's that going to look like? Well, you can give it a look-see and tell them Liege sent you if you like it. And if you don't like it, tell them Liege sent you anyway, and it's good traffic and word of mouth for me. I'm just kidding. End of video. That's all I freaking got. Long enough video. I'm tapped out. This has been an incredibly long week. Orchestra concerts, soccer practices. Soccer practices were canceled for rain that never showed up, but that's a whole nother video. That's a whole nother topic, and we'll have something out this weekend, hopefully, as well, like I mentioned, covering a multitude of games, including the previously aforementioned MonToons, as well as Reforest that I mentioned in addition. And if you're really interested in paying attention, the Osprey latest release of, actually, it's not even out yet. I think I'm one of the few people with copies. So Line of Fire Burnt Moon, Radlands meets Undaunted. Ooh. So we'll be covering a couple games all in one video. and something exclusive for the YouTube and Patreon folks. So if you want to help me even further, that'd be super awesome. So that's all I got. Have a great freaking fantastic day, weekend, and everything else that goes along with it. I'm done. I'm tapped. Time for bed.